Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and in today's video I thought it would be fun to go through everything you need to begin your crochet journey as a brand new crocheter. Whether you're starting with blankets, with hats, with amigurumi, doesn't matter. I'm going to go through all my favorites, things I started with, things I've evolved to, and we will make sure that you're all set for beginning to crochet. So let's get started. Okay, so there is quite a lot of things that you need to start to crochet. That doesn't mean you have to spend a ton of money. I would say there are a lot of things that you could probably find on Marketplace or people giving away for free, hand-me-downs from maybe moms, grandmas, because this is kind of a grandma hobby. That's what my husband calls me. He calls me a grandma, so that's okay. I'm proud of it. But you don't have to spend an arm and a leg, and that's kind of why I wanted to jump on here and share with you guys what I started with and kind of what I've evolved to. So the very first thing that you're going to need is a crochet hook. Now you can find lots of different crochet hooks. The set that I started with was from Amazon. It came in this cute little package, just like this. And it opens up and there's a place for, oh, let's see, this is all dirty. There's a place for all of your crochet hooks here. There's a couple pockets for stitch markers and darning needles and whatever else is that you need. And then the second pocket has more space for crochet hooks. It has I have a little sizing thing in here to find out the size of a crochet hook. So there's lots of room in here, and I use this for forever. I probably would still use it, but I do a lot of my crocheting at home, so I don't really need it, but this was super handy. And the crochet hooks that came with it are these. Now these are just like a silicone handled on a metal hook, and I use these for years. They're perfectly fine. They're great to use. Personally, I found them comfortable. I didn't find that they hurt my hands, and they come in all sorts of colors. So every size is a different color. So here's the purple one, and this one is the 5mm, and this is the 6mm. So if you're just beginning, I would suggest finding a cheaper set on Amazon. You can usually find a whole set from like a 2mm all the way up to like a 8mm for a pretty affordable price. You don't want to go crazy on hooks, especially if you're just trying crochet out. Maybe you won't like it, and then you're going to be stuck with all these supplies. So these were great to start with. Now, as I've grown in crochet, I've kind of gone through different stages of hooks. Now, I did these Crochet Society subscription boxes, and they always came with a hook, and I loved their hooks. They look like this. They're similar in the sense that they have the metal here, but this back piece is different. I just found these really, really pretty more than anything. Ergonomically, I didn't find them any less or more comfortable than these, but they were a lot prettier than these, so I really did like that. I then moved on to my current hook right now, which is my favorite, and that is the Furls crochet hook. Now, not everybody loves these, so I feel like it just depends on how you crochet. I think it might be the shape that people don't like, perhaps, I'm not sure, but I personally love them. Now, the hook itself is called inline, which means it's in line with the rest of the hook, where these ones, they kind of jut out a little bit, so that's why I think people prefer these ones a little bit more, because they maybe grab onto the yarn just ever so slightly better, but I don't have any issues with these ones. But this is the Streamline Resin hook from Furls Crochet, and this is my favorite hook. I have a million. I have so many of these, and I use them all the time. They're my favorite. I have multiple different sizes for different projects that I'm doing. So these ones are definitely my favorite, a good option, but a little bit more pricey. So if you're a beginner, I would definitely suggest sticking with these guys. Now the last hook, which I'm going to show you, is from a brand called Knit Pro, and basically what it is an interchangeable hook. So it comes with a base like this, And then it comes with multiple sizes of hooks like this. And so that way, you know, if you need, this one's a 5.5. If I need a 5.5, I just screw this on and I go crochet. And then let's say I need a 10. I just unscrew this one and I put my 10 on and I'm ready to go. So that's also kind of fun. You get multiple hooks in one set. So could be a good beginner friendly set as well, as long as it's not too pricey for you. So that is another option for crochet hooks, is an interchangeable hook like this. Now, next up, you're going to need a few little things. So first off, you're going to need some fabric pins, especially if you're going to be working with amigurumi. Now, I just bought these fabric pins from Michael's. They didn't cost like basically anything, like a few dollars. And they just have the little, this is going to be hard to show you, but they just have the little ball on one side. I bought a little pin cushion that I put them in. Super easy, very affordable. You're also going to need a stitch marker. Now you can find these little plastic ones super duper cheap on Amazon. Sometimes they'll come in a kit like this. So see if you can find something like that. These are perfect. You can also find ones like this that have like a little clasp on it instead of this one. So always an option. And then there's also metal ones you can get, kind of like in here. So there's lots of different options for stitch markers. You do need a stitch marker for amigurumi especially, but also if you're going to be making clothing or blankets, sometimes it's nice to have. I personally, when I'm doing amigurumi, I use a scrap strand of yarn, but these stitch markers work perfect as well. So stitch marker should be on your list. Next up, you're going to need a darning needle, especially for amigurumi, maybe not so much for blankets and such, but you will need to weave in your yarn ends and do those kind of things. So there's two kind of types. Again, you can find these really cheap in a bigger set on Amazon. So the first one is just your classic straight needle, like this. I think I bought like a set of like 10 of these in one little tube that it came in. Now the other one is kind of like this. So the end is a little bit bent, and that's just to help with sewing. I personally prefer this one. A little bit more expensive. If you're just starting out, I would suggest just the straight one. And then if, you know, crochet is in your future and you want to keep doing it, then you could definitely move on to this one. Now, next up, you're also going to need a tape measure. So, I just use this tape measure. It is pretty simple, pretty basic. It's just a long strand. It's got inches on one side and centimeters on the other side, and it's perfect for measuring. So this is an easy option. You can find these for super duper cheap. You don't need to spend a lot of money on these. The other option is something more like this, and this one kind of opens like this, which these are kind of more fun, I would say. And then you just push the center and it goes back up. So this is really fun too. I use this one a lot as well. But again, they both work. One's just more expensive than the other. So, you know, whatever your financial situation is, you can start crochet for like on a budget if you really wanted to. So you need a tape measure. Now, specifically for amigurumi, if you're going to be making that, you're going to need safety eyes if you're going the safety eyes route. Now, I normally buy my safety eyes on AliExpress. They have the sparkle safety eyes that I really like. They look like this. So they're clear with the sparkle background. But I don't love the backs on these because they never fit. So I always have to widen this hole here with a drill because I can never get this to go on. It's just way too small. I've seen a lot of good ones on Etsy, and when I'm ready to repurchase, I'm going to probably check Etsy out this time. And I think Amazon has a few of your plain black sets. So this is what a black, like just a plain set would look like. It just comes with a bunch of different types. Mine's kind of a mess in there, so don't mind that. But it comes with a bunch of different ones. So this one comes with a bunch of different eyes, with colored eyes, plain black eyes, and then it also comes with a bunch of noses. So if you're looking for a starter kit, this is probably your best bet. Something like this, or even something smaller like this, and just making sure it comes with the backings as well. Or you can buy specific ones. These ones probably a little bit more expensive, that are specific to the sizing that you need and the aesthetic that you're looking for. Now, if you're not using safety eyes, you can embroider eyes, and we'll talk about yarn for embroidery a little bit later. Now, the two last things that we're going to need before we talk about yarn is a pair of scissors. Now, any scissors will do. You don't need anything pretty. You can use kitchen scissors if you'd like. I have a bunch of different craft scissors laying around my room because I always need them, and I always lose them. So scissors is a must. And then particularly for amigurumi, if you're going to be making that, is you're going to need stuffing. So I'll show you what I use. So this is the bag. So this is the polyester stuffing. I get this from Walmart. It's a 64-ounce bag. I think I get for $30, and this thing lasts me forever. You can get smaller ones. I wouldn't suggest getting 64 ounces if you're only going to make like 1 or 2 stuffies. But I make stuffies all day long, so I use this a ton. But you want to find a nice soft polyester stuffing. I've had stuffings in the past that are more like squeaky. I don't know if that's a good explanation of it. They're more like cottony. They're just not nice to hold. They kind of like, nails on a chalkboard. That's the feeling they give me. They're not nice in a stuffy. Like, you want it to be plush. You want it to be squishy. And I don't feel like those stuffings give you that. But this stuffing is super nice. I mean, everybody's going to have different stuffings, so it's going to be hard to compare just by looking at it. But it's just a lot lighter, a lot fluffier, and just a lot softer. So try and find a softer stuffing if you can, if that's an option for you. This is what I use. I find it's the cheapest than anywhere else I found, is just the Walmart brand. Works perfect. So you're going to need stuffing. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about is probably the most important thing, which is the yarn, because we can't really make anything without that. Now, I personally use a ton of chenille yarn. I don't usually use many polyester yarns, cotton yarns, things like that, but I have in the past. So I'm going to go through a few of my favorite yarns for different projects, and then I'll go through my chenille yarns and what I suggest for that. So if you're going to be using things like the Centro machine to make headbands and toques and stuff like that, I really love this Red Heart yarn. And I love this speckled one especially. I think it just works up so nicely in the Centro machine in particular. It's thick enough that it will go through and not too thick that it will get stuck, because the Centro machine can be very touchy with yarns. You have to use a specific type or types, and sometimes it just doesn't want to work. So this is a really good one. This is the Red Heart Comfort, and I'm not sure what the color is for this one. But, here, Cream Fleck is what it's called. So you can get a huge ball of this for like no cost at all. So this is a really good starter type of yarn, I find, for hats and beanies and headbands and things like that, which is where I started. You can also use this for blankets, and it comes out beautifully. Now, some people hate this yarn, but I personally love it. I especially love it for baby blankets because it's so soft. And that is the Caron Simply Soft. Now, this yarn, again, does really well in the Centro machine, but it's a little bit slippery. This yarn's more slippery. That's the best way to describe it. It's really soft. So the Centro machine, the stitches sometimes are a little bit more stretched out with this yarn because it's so slippery. But for baby blankets and such, and blankets in general, this is really great yarn. So if you're going the blanket route, I would suggest checking this stuff out. That or the Red Heart, they work great together. There's so many different types of acrylic yarn, and so you could just go to your local Michael's or wherever you are and look up some yarn. I'm sure you'll find a ton, and even the dollar store has some really good yarn. So if you're on a budget and looking for some yarn just to test out, you could try this yarn. You could go to the dollar store, whatever works for you. Now for embroidery, I would suggest getting a cotton yarn. You're going to want cotton because the acrylic yarns, they kind of like shed a little bit. The cotton yarn doesn't. So I just have this Friends cotton. Any cotton works. And this is just in a black. I have a size 3 and a size 4. And this is for my embroidery. And I also have a white that is a size 4. So a cotton is really good, especially if you're going to be doing amigurumi and you're going to be doing embroidered eyes kind of like this, or like any eye detailing with eyebrows or eyelashes. You're going to want to use cotton yarn for that. Now into the chenille yarn. Now I have a lot, so I'll kind of just go through my favorites. Every chenille yarn is slightly different. I don't know why, but I guess that makes sense because different people make them. So the ones I started out with first is Baby Snuggle. This is a hobby or Hobie yarn. I love this yarn. It's never let me down. The colors are beautiful. It's super soft. Love this yarn. Then they came out with the Honey Bunny yarn. I really don't know the difference, honestly. They are the same to me. The colorways are ever so slightly different, but they are the same. Super soft, a bulky size 6 yarn. I love these. Now, they also came out recently with a new brand called Toucan, which again, I love. But again, it's so similar. Really, the only difference to me is the colorways are ever so slightly different, which is why I get the different ones, because maybe Toucan has a better blue than, you know, Baby Snuggle. So this is the Toucan yarn. It's also a super bulky 6 yarn, and I love it as well. Now, more recently, I tried out the Premier yarn. Now, the Premier Parfait Chunky yarn is the one I tried out first. The colors in this line are beautiful. However, I will say that this is the most the strand comes apart the easiest on this. So I sometimes struggle with this yarn the most because it comes apart so easily. All the chenille yarns come apart, don't get me wrong, but this one to me is the worst. It comes apart so easily. So something to think about if you're new and you're using and you want to use chenille yarn. I would not suggest using this because I get frustrated with it, and I've been crocheting for years, so you may get frustrated with using a yarn like this. Now, a new yarn that I'm just trying out is called Yarnsmith Chenille Chunky. And again, it's very similar, very soft. I haven't really used it enough to know if it falls apart as bad as the Premier Parfait Chunky yarn, but the colorways on this one were so beautiful I had to try it out. So another option for chenille yarn. Now my last two, one is my variegated yarn. Now this is the Premier Basic Chenille in tie-dye. And it looks like this. It is super, very pretty. Very, very pretty. It's really the only variegated yarn that I found that I really like. Now, with that being said, it is really thick. It's more like a blanket yarn, like a Bernat blanket yarn versus a chenille yarn. The strand is just, it's heavier. I don't know how else to describe it. It's thicker. It has a different texture, and it does not fall apart the same way. Like, it just does not fall apart like a chenille yarn. So while it does say it is a chenille yarn, I don't know. I think it's more like a blanket yarn. So, but it is beautiful. I just don't know about mixing the two, like a pure chenille and this one. I don't know how mixing would work, but it is beautiful. So if you're looking for a variegated yarn, this one is really good. Now my last yarn that I would suggest is called Toucan Fine. So it is similar to the Toucan that I showed you already, but it is finer. So this is a size 4 medium weight yarn, but it's a chenille, which I love. This is one of my favorite yarns. Lately, I've been really into making smaller projects with this yarn. I never liked using an acrylic yarn or a cotton yarn for amigurumi because I just found it too difficult. but this stuff is so nice. So this is a really good option if you're looking for a skinnier weight yarn, like a 4 that is a chenille yarn. This is a really good one. Walmart also has one. It's loops and threads, or sorry, Michaels. Michaels has some. So those are my yarn suggestions for you, and overall those are my suggestions for a beginner crocheter. What supplies do you need to start your hobby of crochet? I will say just start small, but I will just warn you that crocheting can be very addicting. So you probably will end up with way too much yarn and way too many supplies like I do, but that's kind of the fun of it. So I hope this video was super helpful for you. I hope you enjoy your crochet journey. Check out more videos of ours. If you're learning different skills, we're happy to help. And if you need any new videos, just let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!